Hello, Badura here from ActionCOACH Business Steps. Let me ask you a serious question. When business gets tough, when cash flow tightens, when a key team member leaves, when clients slow down, when the pressure starts building and you feel like the weight of the whole business is sitting on your shoulders, how do you think? Because that question matters more than most business owners realise. In the good times, nearly everyone looks capable. Nearly everyone sounds positive. Nearly everyone says they're focused, committed, and driven. But tough times reveal the truth. They reveal the quality of your leadership. They reveal the quality of your systems, the quality of your mindset, and they reveal whether you are building a business or simply reacting to one. What I've noticed over and over again is this. The owners who come through tough times stronger are not always the smartest, they're not always the biggest, and they're not always the ones with the most resources. They're the ones who think differently. They don't pretend the challenge isn't real. They don't stick their head in the sand or live in denial. But they also don't fear or let they don't pretend the challenge isn't real. They don't stick their head in the sand or live in denial. But they also don't let fear become the operating system of the business. They choose a better mindset. And today, I want to talk to you about what I call the business builder mindset. The mindset successful owners adopt during tough times so that they can lead better, make stronger decisions, manage their time properly, keep the team moving, and create sustainable growth instead of chaos. Because in hard seasons, your mindset doesn't just affect you. It affects your team, it affects your customers, it affects your culture, and it also affects your cash flow and your future. So let's dig in. The first thing we need to understand is the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. A fixed mindset says, this is how it is. I'm not good at. My team may never change. The market is the problem. There's nothing I can do. We've always done it this way. I'm under pressure because that's the cost of running a business. Now, that mindset sounds normal in a lot of workplaces, but it's deadly. Because a fixed mindset makes problems feel permanent. It turns obstacles into identity. It causes leaders to take setbacks personally, and it stops progress before progress even starts. A growth mindset sounds different. A growth mindset says, this is hard, but we can learn. This isn't working, so we need a better system. My team may need clearer standards. This result is feedback. What can I do differently? What skill do I need to develop? What must change for the business to move forward? Now, that's a completely different energy. And energy matters in business because the way that you think shapes the way that you lead. The way you lead shapes the way that your team behaves. And the way your team behaves shapes the results that your business gets. I've worked with owners who were stuck in firefighting mode every single day. They were exhausted, frustrated, and convinced the real problem was staff, customers, price pressure, or the economy. Now, were those things real? Of course they were. But the breakthrough came when they stopped asking, why is this happening to me? And started asking, what is this situation teaching me about my business? That one shift changes everything because now you move from blame to ownership, from emotion to clarity, from reaction to response, and then from chaos to control. And ownership is where real resilience begins. One of the biggest mistakes I see during tough times is owners confusing positive thinking with blind optimism. Positive thinking is not standing in front of a disaster saying, everything's fine. Positive thinking is not ignoring numbers. Positive thinking is not pretending your culture is healthy when it clearly isn't. Positive thinking is not motivational fluff. Real positive thinking is disciplined thinking. It's the ability to hold two truths at once. This is a serious challenge, and we are capable of dealing with it. That is powerful leadership, because when a leader panics, the team panics. When a leader becomes negative, cynical, or defeated, that mood spreads fast. And before long, people stop bringing solutions. They start bringing excuses. They stop taking responsibility and start protecting themselves. They stop looking ahead and start shrinking. Your thinking sets the emotional temperature of the business. That's why successful owners protect their mindset like they protect cash flow. They are careful about what they focus on. They're careful about the conversations that they allow. They're careful about the stories they tell themselves. If you say to yourself all day, we're behind, we're struggling, no one cares, my team doesn't get it, this is hopeless, then your brain will go to work proving that story to be true. But if you train yourself to say, we've got a challenge, but we can solve it, or we need better priorities, or clearer accountability, or we need stronger communication, maybe need to lead better, then your brain starts looking for answers, and answers are where growth begins. Now let's bring this into one of the most practical areas in business, time. Because in tough times, time, or I like to call it self-management, becomes even more important. Poor mindset creates poor time use. A business owner with a fixed mindset spends too much time reacting, rescuing, worrying, checking, chasing, and doing work that should belong to other people. Why? Because fear narrows focus. Pressure makes people impulsive, and when there's no clear mindset, everything feels urgent. That's why so many business owners feel busy all day and still go home feeling like nothing got done. They were more active, but not effective. They were moving, but not leading. Present, but not productive. Resilient business builders do something different. They learn to apply their attention, focus, and energy to what I call the right things. Not just the loudest things, not just the things that are nearest, not just the emotional things. They focus on the right things. So what are the right things? The right things are the activities that strengthen the business, not just soothe the moment. And that means protecting time for thinking, planning, communicating priorities, reviewing the numbers, coaching people, improving systems, making decisions, following up on commitments, and solving root causes instead of repeating temporary fixes on the symptoms. I often say to business owners, if you spend all your time putting out fires, you're training the business to keep producing fires. And that lands hard because it's true. I worked with one owner who was in the workshop from first thing in the morning to late in the afternoon every day. He said he had no time to lead, no time to think, no time to work on the business, no time to improve margins, and no time to train staff. But when we look closely, the real issue wasn't the lack of time. It was lack of discipline around focus. He was saying yes to every interruption. He was solving problems his team should have solved. He was redoing work instead of creating standards. And he was jumping into the day with no real plan. So we changed it. We gave him protected leadership time every morning. We created a daily priority list. We set clearer team responsibilities and built a simple meeting rhythm. We also established a rule. Problems must come with proposed solutions, and we started measuring the repeated issues. Within weeks, the business didn't become perfect, but it became calmer. He became clearer. The team became more accountable. He started acting like the leader of the business instead of the emergency department. This is mindset made practical, because resilience isn't just about bouncing back emotionally, it's about building habits that reduce unnecessary pressure. Another thing resilient owners do well is manage their own state. Your state affects your standards, your patience, your communication, and your state affects the quality of your decisions. If you're tired, distracted, frustrated, and mentally cluttered, you will not lead at your best. That's why resilience must include recovery. Some owners think rest is weakness. It's not. Poor recovery leads to poor judgment. Poor judgment leads to poor leadership, and then poor leadership leads to poor results. You do not need to be soft. You need to become sustainable. And that means asking yourself these questions. Am I creating thinking space? Am I starting the day intentionally or reactively? Am I surrounding myself with the right people? Am I consuming information that strengthens me or drains me? Am I clear on the top 3 priorities that matter the most this week? And am I running a rhythm that supports performance, or am I just surviving? Because sustainable growth never comes from constant emotional chaos. Now let's talk about the team. In tough times, the team watches the leader more closely than ever. They watch your face, your tone, what you reward. They watch what you ignore, and they also watch how you behave under pressure. If your message is stay focused, but your behavior is frantic, they will follow your behaviour. If your message is take ownership, but you blame others, they will learn to blame. If your message is we need to improve, but you tolerate repeated underperformance, they will stop believing that your standards matter. Mindset is contagious. So what should a resilient owner model during tough times? Well, clarity, calmness, honesty, consistency, ownership, forward movement, not perfection, not fake positivity, not robotic control, just steady leadership. They might sound like this. Here's where we are, or here's what matters most. Here's what we're going to do next. Here's what we can control. Here's what I need from each of you today. Here's what we'll track progress on. That kind of communication builds trust. And I've seen teams turn around not because the market changed overnight, but because the owner finally became clear. One client I worked with had a team that looked disengaged on the surface. Deadlines were slipping, little mistakes were happening, and the owner was frustrated because he felt like no one cared as much as what he did. When we dug deeper, the issue wasn't that the team didn't care. The issue was confusion. They didn't know what the priorities were. They didn't know what success looked like. They weren't getting regular feedback. And every week, the owner changed direction based on what felt urgent in that moment. That creates insecurity, and insecure teams hesitate. So we changed the cadence. Weekly team meetings, clear KPIs, simple scoreboards, defined roles, consistent one-on-ones. And most importantly, the owner learned to lead with steadiness instead of emotion. The result, not instant perfection, but confidence increased. Communication improved, ownership improved, and the team started moving in the same direction. That's the point of resilient leadership. Let me give you another key thought here. Tough times are often revealing, not ruining. They reveal weak systems, they reveal poor communication, unclear roles. They also reveal pricing problems, and they reveal poor habits, over-dependence on the owner. Now that may sound uncomfortable, but it's also good news, because once something is revealed, it can be improved. This is where successful owners think differently. Instead of saying, why is this happening? They ask, what is this exposing that we need to fix? That's a business builder mindset, and that brings me to one of the most important ideas that I can leave you with today. Resilient owners don't just think positive, they think constructively. And constructive thinking asks questions like this. What's the real issue here? What is within my control? What system is missing? What conversation needs to happen? What standards need to be reset? What number do I need to track? What behaviour do I need to model? What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to start doing? That's how businesses improve, not by wishing, by thinking well, then acting deliberately. So let me make this very practical for you. When things are tough, you need to protect 5 things. Number 1, protect your thinking. Don't let fear become strategy. Number 2, protect your time. Make sure that your diary reflects leadership, not just busyness. Number 3, protect your energy. You cannot lead when you're not mentally wrecked, or when you are mentally wrecked. Number 4, protect your standards. Pressure is no excuse for lowering expectations. Number 5, protect your focus. Keep coming back to the few things that move the business forward. And when you do that, you create resilience in the business, not just in yourself. Because the goal is not simply to survive a hard season. The goal is to build a stronger business because of it. That's what the best owners do. They become better decision makers, better communicators, better leaders, better managers of time, better at coaching their people, better at solving root causes, and better at focusing on what matters. And as they grow, the business grows too. That's why mindset matters so much. Because every business will face pressure. Every business will face setbacks. And every business will go through seasons where it feels hard. I call this the business roller coaster. But not every business owner will use that season to become stronger. The ones who do are the ones who choose growth over blame, responsibility over excuses, systems over chaos, clarity over noise, and action over avoidance. And those are the business builders who create real sustainable success. So here's my challenge for you. Take a hard look at yourself as a leader. Where have you drifted into fixed mindset thinking? Where are you spending time on things that you should have delegated, systematized, or stopped? Where are you reacting emotionally instead of leading intentionally? Where is your team unclear because you have or haven't communicated with enough consistency? Where is the business still relying on your stress instead of your structure? Because once you can answer these questions honestly, you can start changing them. And remember this, you do not build a great business by accident. You build it by becoming the kind of leader who can think clearly, act decisively, and stay steady when times get tough. That is the business builder mindset. That is resilience in action, and that is what causes or creates growth that lasts. If you're feeling the pressure in your business right now, if you know you're stuck working in the day-to-day, if you can see that your team needs stronger leadership, better systems, and more accountability, then let's have a conversation. Because sometimes the biggest breakthrough in business starts with one honest conversation about what needs to change. Schedule a meeting with me. Let's identify where the real bottlenecks are, and let's get clear on what what needs your attention, focus, and energy. And let's help you move from chaos to control so that you can build a stronger business, a stronger team, and a better life. I'm Phil Badura, turning business dreams into reality. Take action, get results.